Before we get started with this episode of Hater on the Road, cucks, I want to take a moment to address a video that was sent to me by none other than HA himself, the Heels Advocate, all right? He sent your boy a video that he mentioned in our collaboration of Obafemi talking straight up American, all right? This was disheartening to watch. First of all, the real guy, because the interview, the clip, had his real name. His first name is Isaac, which is a powerful name. Instead, they call him Obafemi. It is what it is. That's fine. But the fact is, they made this guy put on a fake accent to hide who he is. And I'll never understand this at all, right? If you think Kevin Owens can effectively be himself, and Sami Zayn can effectively be himself, and that cuckold and the subject matter of this video, Gunther, can be himself largely, then why can't Isaac, also known as Obafemi? You know what I mean? They made him put on an accent, and they made him feel like an immigrant, which is going to make it harder for the people to connect to him. The hater as an immigrant can explain to you that being an immigrant has its challenges. I'm not going to sit here and bitch and moan about my immigrant experience, because quite frankly, the hater's had a wonderful life. But nevertheless, motherfucks, so far, and hopefully it goes that way, continues to go that way up in this bitch, you know what I'm saying? But the facts are what the facts are. I cannot think of why they would want to limit this guy's mass appeal, right? Furthermore, like, you already have enough immigrants in this company, and he still is an immigrant, but he grew up in America. He's a good old Texas boy, right? I thought that his interview was very charming, way more charming than Obafemi. I think his opportunities to get over would have been far greater if he was just Isaac, whatever the fuck his last name is. It's Oba something, right? Instead of being Obafemi, which is just, in my opinion, lazy, right? Now, it'd be one thing if they did this for a purpose. Like, if he had an actual character. Like, if his character was like, he's a Nigerian prince, because their boy has met a lot of Nigerian princes, or so they claim. It's like every 5 Nigerians, one of them is a prince, you know? But anyway, it's not here or there. If his gimmick was that he's a Nigerian prince, or that he's, he has some sort of gimmick where being Nigerian and having that accent has bearing on his character, then that's fine. But if you just tell him to speak in a goofy accent for no reason, and I don't care, I'm gonna call it a goofy accent because it's put on, right? It is, I know he's Nigerian, but it is a form of appropriation, right? It would be like, imagine if you had, I don't know, let's see, like fucking Dominic Mysterio coming out and talking like Eddie Guerrero, right? Talking with an accent, right? It'd be weird, right? And you wouldn't want that. It would feel inauthentic, which is why nobody's talking about this guy. However, I do wish him well in his match against Cucky. There's a very small chance, like a 0.001% chance that, like, and this would be badass. Imagine he pins Cody clean, grabs the NXT title, the WWE title, and just puts his foot over Cody's chest. That would be badass. That would be amazing. But, and that might be why that's the main event. Maybe it's an opportunity to just suggest to some degree that Obafemi is the next Cena, right? That could be the long play here. That's never going to happen anyways, but he could get a massive boost if he, in fact, does that to Cody or does something else similar to that. Anyways, let's move on with our lives, motherfucks. Wrestling, as we know it, is character-driven. And there is a guy in wrestling called Gunther. Der Ring General, Gunther, der Ring General. So, first of all, Gunther, he's boring, all right? Let's say it like it is. A lot of people are liking the comparisons that are being made, largely by me, but some others, I think, have pointed this out before me. I think I got it from someone, maybe Marky D, I don't remember. But someone pointed out that Gunther is like Kozlov, and the hater agrees, so that's why this video is about Gunther, right? This guy is basically a Kozlov, right? The only difference is he doesn't have the muscles or the presence of a Kozlov. He does have some presence. The hater's he's not gonna go full hater on this bitch. The facts are what the facts are. Everything that Gunther has achieved is directly a result of his booking. If Gunther was booked like a jobber, nobody would cheer for this guy, right? If he was booked like, let's say, Andrade, or perhaps Nakamura, then what would happen is, what is happening to those guys? Nothing. But Gunther is given every single opportunity. Every single opportunity to get over, every single opportunity to make a statement, every single opportunity to cut a shitty promo, and obviously every single opportunity to be undefeated effectively in his matches. But let's analyze what he would be without that. He would be a guy with no charisma, a guy with 5 moves, and a guy who cuts the same promo again and again as he squashes unworthy jobbers like Otis and Tozawa. These are the people that I remember him having matches with, right? Every time this asshole faces someone of value, he struggles and often loses. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, Hater, he beat Randy Orton. Yeah, he beat Randy Orton. So what? Randy Orton is a shell of his former self in kayfabe. Like, in reality, he's like probably the best he's ever been because he's the biggest and strongest looking he's ever been. But in kayfabe, he's like a mid-card nobody. You know what I mean? Randy Orton is not a threat to become WWE champion anytime soon, you know? The facts are what the facts are, motherfuckers. I like Orton too, but these are just the realities. And people are okay with this asshole retiring Goldberg, retiring Cena, and then who knows who else this asshole is going to retire. Maybe he'll retire Orton. Maybe he'll retire the Cuckster. Somebody's going to, right? Cody's got one more career left in him. That's what he said. One more contract, I should say, left in him. Which is what, a couple of years? 3 years maybe, right? Just a long time to deal with Cody. But nevertheless, the point is, we have to worry about this shit and Gunther being here for a long time based only on the manufactured elements of his booking. Without the titles, this guy ain't shit. And here's how you know. Number one, they put the title on him, the Intercontinental title. I mean, first of all, if you want to go all the way back in this bitch, they put the UK NXT title on him for like a fucking eternity. And who did he beat? Pete Dunne. So what? Who gives a shit? Pete Dunne is now like Rayo Pendejo or whatever. He's like a lackey to a Grande Americano. He never made it. And he beat his ass silly. After that, he beats a bunch of other similarly situated people in NXT UK, guys that are ever going to make it. And then what happens? He continues this horse shit again and again, and then does the same thing with the Intercontinental title, wrestling the likes of Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and people of that caliber. Wrestling people that are inferior. Wrestling people that aren't good enough. And having a long, I think it was 666 days of a title reign with the IC title. And despite that, this guy achieved nothing with that title. He could have easily just skipped that shit and been put in the main event scene. He would be as believable because he didn't do anything special as UK champion or as IC champion. A lot of people say he's great in the ring, but name one amazing match he's had. Oh, Gunther versus Dragunov at NXT UK. Fine. Name one match he had that more than 15 people watched. Cucks. Name one match that he's had that's been amazing since his introduction to the main roster. That's what really grinds my gears, is that Gunther is one of those guys, like a Nakamura or a Finn Balor, where we're supposed to believe that he's good at wrestling, despite the fact that he's never put on excellent matches. There's that one match, him, Sheamus, and Drew for the IC title at WrestleMania. That match was okay, but quite frankly, it was not my cup of tea. This was a bunch of chops, left and right, a few spots, and then Gunther wins with that shitty powerbomb. So I didn't really enjoy it as much as everyone else did. But, you know, name a good match, motherfuckers. Name one. Then he becomes world champion, and then he starts wrestling whenever the fuck he wants. And then that lasts for a fucking long time, or so it felt. And then he loses at WrestleMania to Jey Uso, and he goes away. When he comes back, they put the title on him again, because he is inherently uninteresting without the title. So then he loses it to CM Cuck, who then loses it to Seth Rollins after Rollins cashes in. What happens next? Gunther goes away. Tail tucked between his legs, he goes away for months. And when he comes back, what does he do? Well, he can't just kind of operate on the main roster like on his own. He has to, under all reasonable circumstances, he has to operate on the main roster by getting booked into great positions. So he gets put into the stall-worthy, into the boring at this point, John Cena last time is now Cuckold's tournament. In this tournament are a series of mediocrities, like Nakamura, like Rusev, right? A bunch of nobodies are in this tournament. And of these nobodies, and I don't give a fuck what anyone says, LA Knight is a nobody, Jey Uso is a nobody for all intents and purposes, and Gunther comes out on top of this. That's basically all he's been doing for the last several months. And despite having provided no actual interest from the fans in this product, Gunther gets rewarded by being the guy that retires, and possibly, against my better judgment, they might make him force Cena to tap out like a punk. Now, with all that being said, go back to what I said earlier, Cucks. What has Gunther done for this company? It seems that this company is doing a lot for Gunther. Does Gunther draw any money? Does Gunther put asses in seats? Does Gunther do anything aside from benefit from the positive booking that he has experienced from the beginning of his WWE and WWE NXT UK run? All he's done is be booked well. He's had to face zero adversity. And now I recognize that wrestling is not a meritocracy in any capacity. Otherwise, Gunther wouldn't even be in this company. But wrestling has to at least be able to recognize the talent that is and is not in need of a push. Gunther, what you did with Gunther in WWE, you could do with literally anyone. Like, if Otis had the run that Gunther had, Otis would be, I mean, in my opinion, many, many more times more popular than Gunther. Because Otis was actually popular. He still is. But if you gave that run, this, which is now bordering historic runs, to anybody else, they would be a Hall of Famer. They would feel like a massive deal. You would think there is no chance that this guy is ever going to lose to anybody. This is effectively the run they gave John Cena. Like when John Cena became US champion, and even John Cena had to like struggle in the undercard for a while, but when they started giving him that push, even though Gunther's had this push from day one, I cannot stress how important of a distinction that is. Gunther's been doing this since day one. He's been stepping on toes and doing shit, right? But if you look at what's happening with the Cuckster, right, or John Cena to a lesser degree, these are guys that have been pushed from the beginning. And, I mean, Cody Rhodes is more popular than Gunther, right? And he sucks too. But he's gotten the same exact run. The only difference is that Cucky has had a few more wins. And to be fair, he's had a few more bigger wins, like the Royal Rumbles, and he won the world title at WrestleMania. But aside from that, it's the same booking philosophy. It's the Roman Reigns booking philosophy, right? It's the John Cena booking philosophy. But the difference is, when this philosophy is applied to the John Cenas of the world, to the Roman Reigns of the world, and to a lesser degree, because Cody has gotten a push that nobody has ever gotten, to the Cody Rhodeses of the world, when it's given to these guys, what happens is that they become stars. Gunther is never going to be a mainstream star. I don't think anybody even intends to try to make that happen. So think about that for a second. Look around the roster. People talking shit. People, meaning, in this case, meaning the hater, talking shit about Karrion Kross. Do you think if Karrion Cuck had gotten the push that Gunther is getting now, that he would be released? No. You could easily switch places between Gunther and Karrion Kross, and Karrion Kross would have Gunther's career, and Gunther would have Karrion Kross's career. Now, I know some of you smarter ones are thinking, hater, you didn't say anything just now. You just said if things were completely different, they would be completely different. That is true. I did say that. But in there is an implication. For example, if you gave LA Knight the push that Gunther has gotten, LA Knight would be right now a legit megastar. See what I'm saying? If you gave Gunther the treatment you're giving LA Knight, Gunther would now be at maximum on the level of Damian Priest. Meaning he would be inconsequential, insignificant, uninteresting, lame, and a cuck. So what I'm getting at here is this. The main job of people like Triple H and all those other jabrones in the room, the ones that came up with a brilliant Cena heel turn, their one job is to determine who to give the rub to. We're far gone from stories. There are no stories. Name one storyline Gunther has been in. Name one. All his storylines are, I'm going to beat the opponent. That's it. That's Gunther's contribution to the storyline. He has no reason to learn to cut a promo. He has no reason to grow any kind of confidence or to improve his charisma because he will be asked to do the same thing again and again. And he has this promo down pat because the promo effectively is, in this ring, I am number one, right? And my opponent ain't shit. That's the promo he cuts. And then he wrestles the same match with the worst moves imaginable. Like, imagine if you invite a friend over to your house as a kid and you want to start playing SmackDown or something, right? Or whatever. For us, it was SmackDown and then SmackDown 2 Know Your Role. For other people, it may have been SmackDown versus Raw. For some, it was WWE 2K, right? For some, they're in high school now. And imagine if someone said, hey, man, do you mind if I create a character? And you said, sure, bro, go ahead. And you're thinking to yourself, man, this motherfucker better not take too much time creating this character because I want to play the game. Time to play the game! So what happens is, your friend selects new character. He goes, he gets the generic create a character, he goes, he makes the height, whatever the fuck Gunther's height is, then he goes into hairstyles, picks probably the first or second hairstyle, and then clicks save. And you're like, wow, you really made that character very fast. Please don't take too much time coming up with his moves. Then your friend says, what? I'm going to leave him with the moves that he has. And your friend says, but the moves that he has are boring ass moves that people did in the 60s that you could find in SmackDown 1. And then your friend says, nah, that's the way I like him. This is about the time when you'd probably lift the PlayStation, and depending on the era you're in, you would either smash him in the head with it, because it's big and heavy, or you would throw it in his face and choke him with the controller cord. See what I'm getting at here? That's what would happen. You would be frustrated with your friend if the character he created was Gunther. So why the fuck are we, the viewers, supposed to be satisfied with this creator, wrestler, jobber, default template motherfucker? See what I'm getting at here? That's what they're giving us. Now, if you take your jobber, your created character that we just made in this storyline, and you start him out in season mode, and you have him beat John Cena, Cookie Rhodes, Hulk Hogan, in Legends mode or whatever, right? You have him beat everybody. Eventually, that creative wrestler, irrespective of the fact that he would never draw a dime in the real world, will get his title match. So, I ask you, motherfucks, are we so far gone that Gunther is basically a create-a wrestler with zero personality and zero fun moves? You answer this to me, motherfucks. You tell me if you're satisfied with this horse shit, and I'll tell you to go fuck your own ass. Cucks this?